This shows you're not dedicated to our team, Lawrence said, leaning back in his chair like he was doing me a favor by letting me go. My name is Jared Monroe. I'd spent the past 4 years bringing in millions for Drayfield Robotics, while my own bank balance barely changed. 29 years old and still browsing clearance racks. Still driving the same 10-year-old Honda my parents helped me buy back in college. I sat silently, staring at Lawrence Bennett, our vice president of sales, in his tailored suit and that deep tan you don't get in Raleigh, North Carolina in March. That's the kind of tan you earn from winter business trips to Miami. He looked at me, expecting me to argue, plead, or make a scene. Understand, I said. His eyebrows twitched. That wasn't the reaction he expected. You're terminated, effective immediately. I need you to clean out your workspace. April will accompany you to HR for the exit paperwork. I stood up, reached across his massive oak desk, and offered a handshake. He hesitated, then took it. Thank you for the opportunity, I said. The walk back to my desk was silent. Everyone pretended to be focused. Everyone sneaked glances. News spreads fast in an open office. I could feel their eyes tracking me as I pulled a cardboard box from the supply closet. I didn't have much to take with me. A coffee mug my sister gave me, a few decent pens, and the tiny cactus I'd somehow kept alive under fluorescent lights for 3 years. 4 years in that company, and everything I owned fit into a box smaller than a microwave. April stood nearby, keys jingling, watching me like I might swipe a stapler or light my desk on fire. I'd brought in more than $2 million in new business just last quarter. $2 million, and they thought I might steal office supplies. As I walked toward the elevators, Tyler stepped out of his office. Tyler Davis, my direct manager. The guy who'd taken credit for half my sales. The one who had assured me, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times that my raise was in motion, just waiting for Lawrence's green light. He wouldn't even make eye contact. Be sure to turn in your badge at security, he muttered before slipping back into his office. I stepped inside the elevator, badge already in hand. As the doors closed, I caught a glimpse of myself in the polished metal wall. I didn't look fired. I didn't even look upset. I looked lighter, like I'd let go of something heavy I hadn't realized I was carrying. I started at Drayfield right out of college. Business degree from state. Decent GPA. Nothing exceptional, except I could genuinely connect with people. Figure out what they needed and make sure they got it. My dad always told me, a good salesman sells products. A great salesman solves problems. He'd spent 3 decades in the trenches of pharmaceutical sales. Missed a few baseball games, sure, but we never worried about money growing up. When I landed the job at Drayfield, he was proud. Said it was a stable company with room to grow. For the first 2 years, I believed that. Put in 60-hour weeks. Learned every detail of industrial automation. Built lasting client relationships across the Southeast. I won Rookie of the Year and Top Performer of the Year after that. I thought I was building something solid. Then Tyler got promoted over me, even though my numbers were double his. He has more leadership experience, they said. Then he took credit for the Westbrook contract, which I'd spent 6 months nurturing. Then came a company car. It started small. Meeting invites that never made it to my inbox. Client info that arrived a day too late. Snide remarks in meetings like, "Are you sure that's the best tactic for this client?" Little cuts. Day after day. Still, I kept my head down. Kept producing. Until last month. That's when I sealed the Abbott manufacturing deal. $2 million. Our biggest contract of the year. I flew to Chicago 3 times on my own dime. The company wouldn't cover the costs. I worked weekends. Missed my cousin's wedding. And I got it done. When the deal closed, Lawrence took the team out for drinks. Everyone but me. I found out through Instagram the next day. When I finally gathered the nerve to ask for a raise, my 3rd attempt, Lawrence told me, the timing isn't right. We're restructuring our compensation packages. That night, I updated my resume for the first time in 4 years. A week later, Vanessa Mills, a former Drayfield client, now working at Revlon Publishing, reached out on LinkedIn. "We should catch up," she wrote. We grabbed coffee. She mentioned they were building a new business development division. They needed someone with technical sales expertise. Someone like me. I took one vacation day. One day that I had earned for an interview. Someone spotted me in the Rowland building lobby and told Tyler. That was yesterday. I sat in my car for nearly an hour after turning in my badge. Just sat there, akdiniuming, staring at the building where I'd poured 4 years of my life. Early mornings, late nights, promises of we've got your back, and you're part of the family, and hang in there. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. Sorry about how things played out. Just following protocol. I powered off my phone without replying and drove home. When I walked into my apartment, it felt different. Emptier somehow, even though everything was still in place. I dropped my box on the kitchen counter, grabbed a beer, and sat on the couch. And I did something I hadn't done in years. Absolutely nothing. No emails, no calls, no spreadsheets or proposals to review. Just silence, a cold beer, and a late afternoon sun crawling across my living room wall. Around 7, I turned my phone back on. 3 missed calls from my parents. A message from my sister. Are you okay? Tyler had apparently reached out to her looking for me, which was a boundary I hadn't even realized could be crossed. Then I got an email from Vanessa at Rollin. Can you come in tomorrow at 10 a.m.? The team would like to meet you. I replied with a single word, yes. After that, I called my parents. They did you a favor, my father said after I explained what had happened. It wasn't what I had expected him to say. How's that? I asked. They showed you exactly who they are, son. No more illusions. No more maybes. Now you know. He was right. All those times, I'd given them the benefit of the doubt. All those times I'd blamed myself for not working hard enough, not being visible enough, not playing the game well enough. All those times I'd swallowed my pride and kept moving forward because I thought loyalty meant something. It didn't. Not to them. I'd been let go for taking one day, a day I had earned, to look for what they would never give me. Fair compensation, respect, a future. My mother got on the phone. What do you need, honey? Want us to come down this weekend? No, I replied, suddenly clear. I am okay. Actually, I think this might be the best thing that could have happened. And I truly meant it. For the first time in a long while, I felt something other than tired. Something other than the low-grade anxiety that had become my constant companion. I felt free. That night, I slept better than I had in months. In the morning, I put on my best suit, the one I'd bought for important client meetings that Lawrence always managed to attend instead of me. I looked good, rested, ready. The interview at Rollin went better than I could have hoped. They had already checked my references, already spoken to 3 of my former clients, including Abbott Manufacturing. They knew exactly what I was worth. They offered me the position on the spot, Regional Director of Business Development, double my Drayfield salary plus commission. I accepted without hesitation. When can you start? Vanessa asked. I smiled. Immediately. I signed a contract with Rollin on Friday afternoon and started the following Monday. They gave me an office with a door and a window, a company credit card, a team of 3 sales associates, and, most importantly, they gave me something Drayfield never had, a clear path forward. We want you to grow this division, Vanessa explained. Build it from the ground up. Your reputation with clients is why we hired you. For the first 2 weeks, everything was perfect. I learned the systems, met the team, and started building a strategy. I even sent LinkedIn connection requests to my former colleagues at Drayfield. Most accepted. A few sent congratulatory messages. Tyler and Lawrence didn't respond. I didn't care. I was too busy feeling like I was finally where I belonged. Then the cease and desist letter arrived. Mr. Monroe is in violation of his non-compete agreement, it read. He is hereby ordered to terminate his employment with Rollin Publishing immediately or face legal action. I had never signed a non-compete. I was certain of it. I called Rollin's legal department in a panic. Don't worry, the attorney said. Send me all your onboarding paperwork from Drayfield. We'll handle this. That night, I went home and dug through my files. I found my original offer letter, my employment agreement, my most recent performance review. Nothing about a non-compete. Nothing about restrictions on future employment. The next day, Drayfield's attorneys sent over a document with my signature on it, a non-compete agreement dated 3 years ago, right after my Rookie of the Year award. It restricted me from working for any competitor within 100 miles for 1 year after leaving Drayfield. But I hadn't signed it. The signature looked like mine, but I had no memory of ever seeing this document. Did you ever sign anything during a performance review? Ravlin's attorney asked. I thought back to 3 years ago, my first performance review after the award. Lawrence had handed me a stack of papers. Just standard paperwork updates, he'd said. Sign at the flags. I had trusted him. They're claiming Rollin is a direct competitor, the attorney continued, which is a stretch since you sell publishing equipment and they sell industrial automation. But they're pressing hard. This could get expensive. Will I lose my job? I asked, the familiar knot of anxiety returning to my stomach. Not if I can help it, but be prepared. They might try to drag your reputation through the mud. This feels personal. It was personal. The next day, I received an email from one of my biggest former clients at Drayfield. Just had a strange call from your old boss, it read. He implied you took proprietary client information when you left. Wanted to know if you contacted me. I told him you'd always conducted yourself with integrity. What's going on? I forwarded the email to our legal team, my hands shaking with anger. They weren't just trying to stop me from working. They were trying to destroy my reputation, the very thing that had made me valuable, despite their own efforts to minimize me. That evening, my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. Jared, this is Jessica from accounting at Drayfield. Her voice was hushed, nervous. I'm not supposed to be calling you, but you were always decent to me. You need to know something. They're saying you stole client files, but it's not true. I saw Lawrence in the server room the day after you left. He was downloading your entire client folder. Then he deleted the original files and told everyone you must have taken them. Would you be willing to tell that to my attorney? I asked. I can't, she said. I need this job. I just thought you should know what you're up against. She hung up before I could thank her. I sat in my new office, gazing out the window at the Raleigh skyline, and realized this wasn't going to be as simple as just walking away. They weren't going to let me succeed. They were going to try to pull me back down. And for the first time since I'd been let go, I was genuinely angry. The legal battle stretched on for weeks. Rollins stood by me, but the pressure was starting to take its toll. Every day brought a new accusation from Drayfield: client theft, corporate espionage, breach of contract. It was as if they were throwing everything at the wall to see what would stick. We need to find leverage, my attorney said. Right now, it's your word against theirs about the non-compete. And even though we believe it's forged, proving it will be expensive. I nodded, thinking about what Jessica had told me about the client files, about Lawrence in the server room. There was a pattern here, a willingness to lie, manipulate, and create false evidence. What about my commission payments? I asked suddenly. The last quarter I was there, I closed the Abbott deal, $2 million. My commission should have been substantial, but my final paycheck was normal. No bonus, no commission. The attorney made a note. Good. That's something concrete we can look into. That evening, I received a text from Tyler. We should talk, not about the legal stuff. It's important. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop halfway between our offices. He looked awful. Dark circles under his eyes, a rumpled shirt, none of his usual polished appearance. I can't be tied to this conversation, he said as soon as he sat down. I could lose everything. I waited. The non-compete. It's not just you, he continued. Lawrence has been doing this for years. He gets people to sign routine paperwork during reviews, then adds pages later. The signatures are real, but the documents aren't what people signed. Why are you telling me this? I asked. He looked down at his coffee. Because you're not the first person they've done this to, but you're the first one who fought back, and they're scared. Why would they be scared of me? I just want to do my job. Tyler leaned forward. It's not about you. It's about the money. The commission structure at Drayfield isn't what anyone thinks it is. The percentages in our contracts, they're not real. Lawrence has been skimming from every major deal for years. That's why they're coming after you so hard. They're afraid you'll figure it out. My mind raced back to all those deals, all that money, the commissions that never seemed to match what I calculated, the bonuses that were always less than promised because of adjustments and overhead allocations that were never fully explained. How do you know this? I asked. I found the real books, he replied. By accident. I was looking for a client file on Lawrence's computer when he stepped out of a meeting. His spreadsheets were open, 2 sets of commission calculations, the real ones and the ones actually paid out. The difference went into an account labeled Executive Performance Fund. You didn't say anything? Tyler's face flushed. I confronted him. He offered me a cut. Said it was standard practice, that the senior team had always done it this way. Said I'd earned my place at the table. So you took it? He didn't deny it. I have a mortgage. Kids in private school. I told myself it was just how business worked. Why tell me now? Because they're not just coming after you. They're setting you up. Lawrence told the board you manipulated the Abbott contract numbers, that you inflated the deal to get a bigger commission. That's why they're saying you stole files to cover up the fraud they're pinning on you. I felt cold all over. But that's completely false. Abbott can verify the contract value. They've already started creating a paper trail, backdated emails, revised contracts. They're thorough, Jared, and they have resources. I studied Tyler's face, searching for deception. Why should I believe you? You've never been on my side before. He pulled out his phone. Because I kept receipts. He showed me a series of screenshots, commission spreadsheets, email exchanges, bank transfers, all proving exactly what he described. Send those to me, I said. If I do, I'm finished at Drayfield, probably in this industry. You already are, I replied. The only question is whether you go down with them or help me expose this. Tyler stared at me for a long moment, then began forwarding the emails. The evidence Tyler provided changed everything, not just for my case, but potentially for dozens of former and current Drayfield employees who had been cheated out of their rightful commissions. The scheme had been running for years, affecting potentially millions in compensation. This is much bigger than a non-compete dispute, my attorney said when I showed her Tyler's documents. This is systematic fraud. But we had a problem. Tyler wasn't willing to go on record. The screenshots and forwarded emails would be considered hearsay without his testimony. And Drayfield had deep pockets for legal battles. They could tie this up in court for years. We need more, she said. We need someone with direct knowledge who's willing to testify. I thought about Jessica from accounting, but she was too scared of losing her job. I needed someone who had nothing to lose, or better yet, someone who had already lost. That night, I made a list of everyone who had left Drayfield in the past 2 years. People who had quit suddenly or been fired under suspicious circumstances. People who, like me, might have started asking questions about their commissions. One name stood out. Kevin Blackwell, a former top performer in the Eastern region, who had abruptly resigned last year amid rumors of drinking problems. I never believed those rumors. Kevin was a family man, a deacon at his church, and one of the most straight-laced guys I knew. I found him on LinkedIn. He was working for a small company now, earning significantly less than he would have at Drayfield. I sent him a message. Need to talk about Lawrence Bennett and commissions at Drayfield. It's important. He replied within minutes. I've been waiting for this call. We met the following day. Kevin didn't look like a man with drinking problems. He looked like a man who'd been carrying a heavy weight. They fired me because I found the spreadsheets, he said without preamble. The same ones Tyler showed you. But I went further. I documented everything, tracked the money. It wasn't just commissions. It was expense account fraud, kickbacks from vendors, inflated project costs. Lawrence and the CFO had a whole system. Do you have proof? Kevin nodded. I have everything. Bank records, emails, the works. I was building a case to take to the board when Lawrence found out. Next thing I knew, there were rumors about my drinking problem. Then a client complained about me showing up to a meeting intoxicated. A meeting I never even attended. 2 weeks later, I was out. Why didn't you fight back? Go to the authorities? They threatened my family, Jared. His voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly. Nothing direct, just a conversation about how my wife's nursing job at Memorial Hospital might be in jeopardy if I made trouble. How my kids might not be welcome back at their school. They have connections. They made that very clear. I felt sick, but you kept the evidence? Every bit of it. On an encrypted drive off-site. I've been waiting for someone else to notice. Someone they couldn't threaten the same way. Someone like me, I said. Kevin nodded. You don't have a family they can threaten. You've already been fired. And most importantly, you've got Rollin behind you. They have resources too. We spent the next 3 hours going through Kevin's evidence. It was damning, not just for Lawrence and Tyler, but for half the executive team at Drayfield. They've been systematically defrauding their own sales force of millions in commissions over at least 5 years. We need to take this to the authorities, I said. This is criminal. I'm ready, Kevin replied. But we need to be smart. These people won't go down without a fight. That night, I called Vanessa and explained everything. This could get messy. I warned. I understand if Rollin wants to distance themselves. Her response surprised me. Distance ourselves, Jared? We hired you because of your integrity. We're not just going to support you. We're going to help you end this. Drayfield has been operating unethically for years, hurting the whole industry. It's time someone stood up to them. For the first time since this began, I felt like I might actually win. The case broke wide open faster than anyone expected. With Kevin's evidence and Rollin's legal resources, we didn't just file a countersuit against Drayfield. We took everything to the Securities and Exchange Commission and the State Attorney General's office. The investigation moved quickly. Bank records were subpoenaed. Witnesses were deposed. Former employees came forward with their own stories of manipulation and fraud. 3 weeks after our initial filing, federal agents walked into Drayfield's headquarters with warrants. I wasn't there to see it, but Tyler called me that evening. They took everything, he said, his voice hollow. Computers, servers, files. Lawrence was escorted out in front of everyone. The CFO, too. I said nothing. I've been suspended pending investigation, he continued. They're saying I could face criminal charges. You probably will, I replied. But your cooperation will count for something. A week later, Drayfield dropped their lawsuit against me. 2 days after that, their stock plummeted when news of the fraud investigation hit the business press. Former employees began filing a class action lawsuit for unpaid commissions. Clients started jumping ship, unwilling to be associated with the scandal. Through it all, I kept my head down and focused on building my division at Rollin. I didn't give interviews. I didn't gloat on social media. I just did my job. Then, one morning, I received an email from Lawrence's personal account. We should talk. I can explain everything. Meet me for lunch. I forwarded the email to my attorney without responding. The next day, the Business Journal published a story. Drayfield Robotics CEO and executive team stepped down amid fraud allegations. There was Lawrence's photo next to a quote from the board chairman. We are cooperating fully with authorities and are committed to making this right. I closed the browser tab and went back to work. 3 months to the day after I was fired, the court ordered Drayfield to pay me $147,000 in back commissions, plus damages. The check arrived by courier the following week. I didn't cash it immediately. I just set it on my desk and looked at it. Not because I needed the validation, but because I wanted to remember what it had cost to get here. The truth. 1 year later, I stood in front of the Rollin sales team, presenting our quarterly results. We doubled our division's revenue, expanded into 2 new markets, and built a reputation for honesty and transparency with our commission structure that was attracting top talent from across the industry, including 3 former Drayfield employees. The individuals involved in the class action settlement had moved on. News of Drayfield's troubles had faded from the media. Lawrence and the CFO had struck plea deals, and Tyler had managed to avoid jail time by assisting prosecutors. However, his sales career was essentially finished. The company itself had been acquired by a competitor, and it was sold for a fraction of its previous worth. I seldom thought about any of them anymore. After the meeting, Vanessa pulled me aside. The board has approved your promotion to vice president, effective next month, she said. I thanked her, genuinely appreciative but not shocked. We had built something real here, something that worked. That evening, I went to my parents' house for dinner. They had moved to Raleigh 6 months ago, partly to be closer to me, and partly because my father was finally ready to retire. He had been following the Drayfield story closely, more invested in my vindication than I had been at times. Proud of you, son, he said, as we sat on the back porch after dinner. Not because you won, but because you did it the right way. You didn't let them make you bitter. You didn't let them change who you are. I nodded, watching the sunset through the trees. It was never about getting back at them. I know, he said. It was about the truth. We sat in peaceful silence for a while. So, he finally said, smiling, Vice President, huh? Does this mean you're finally going to buy a new car? I chuckled. Maybe, but I think I'll keep the Honda a little longer. It reminds me of something important. What's that? That the fastest way up isn't cutting corners. It's building something that lasts. My father raised his glass. I'll drink to that. I did the same.